All right, so for the review for your test 1, the first part talks about the degree. Now to find the degree, you just look for the term with the largest exponent, which right here is an exponent of 6. So number 2, you look for the term with the largest exponent, which is right here and has an exponent of 3. Now, if you had terms that had multiple variables, like R2, S5, for example, you would add the exponents together, and this would be a degree of 7. Right? When we are dividing polynomials, you take your x squared plus 9x plus 10 divided by x plus 6. Okay, so you take x squared divided by x, your first term, divided by your first term, and we just get x. Then you're going to take this and distribute it, so x times x gives you x squared, x times 6 gives you 6x. Make sure you change these signs to distribute that negative. These will eliminate because they are 0 terms. 9x minus 6x gives you 3x, and then you bring down the 10. Then you take 3x divided by x, which is plus 3, and then you distribute. So we get a 3x plus 18. Distribute the negative, so change your signs. Those will eliminate. 10 minus 18 is a negative 8. There's no way to get a negative 8 from an x, so this is your remainder minus 8 over x plus 6. And that's your final answer. For this next one, we have 15x to the third minus 16x squared minus 6x plus 4 divided by 5x minus 2. So again, you're taking this first term divided by this first term. 15 divided by 5 is a 3, and then x squared. You distribute this back, and that gives you 15x to the third minus 6x squared. Change your signs to subtract. This is gone. This gives you a negative 10x squared. Bring down these two terms, so minus 6x plus 4. Then we're going to take negative 10x squared divided by 5x, which is a minus 2x. Distribute this minus 2x back in, which gives you a negative 10x squared plus 4x. Negative 2 times negative 2. Change both of your signs, so that becomes a negative. This becomes a positive. Negative 6 minus 4 is a negative 10x. Bring down the plus 4. Then negative 10x divided by 5 is a negative 2. Negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10x. Negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. Change both of your signs. So this is gone with a remainder of 0. So this is your final answer. For this next one, you are going to replace each of your values. So x equals negative 2, y equals 3, and a equals negative 4. So instead of y, you have 3 plus 2 times negative 2 over, instead of y, we have 3 minus 5 times negative 4. Make sure you're using your order of operations. All right, then we get, make sure you're using your order of operations. So I'm going to multiply first. So this gives us 3 minus 4 on the top. On the bottom, we have 3 plus 20. So when you simplify, 3 minus 4 is a negative 1 over 3 plus 20 is 23. So your final answer is negative 1 over 23. Okay. So for this next one, when we're going through and we're substituting, we have negative. Instead of x, we have a negative 2 plus 1 squared minus 3 times 3 over 6 minus a negative 4. So you're going to simplify what's in the parentheses first. So this gives me negative of negative 1 squared minus 9 over, make sure this becomes 6 plus 4. Negative 1 squared is a positive 1, but there's a negative there, so we get negative 1 minus 9 over 6 plus 4, which is 10. Negative 1 minus 9 is a negative 10 over 10, which simplifies to a negative 1. Alright, so for this next one, this time we're dealing with an absolute value, and remember absolute value is the distance from 0. So we have the absolute value of 6 times 4 minus 7 times 9. 6 times 4 is 24 minus 63. So when you take 24 minus 63, 24 minus 63, we get negative 39. So the absolute value of a negative 39 is a positive 39. Okay, for this next one, we have 4 times the absolute value of 3 plus 5 times the absolute value of negative 5. So this is actually a positive 5, so 4 times 3 is 12 plus 25, which equals 37. Okay, negative 3 to the third power is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. So negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative. And 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. For this next one, this is negative 5 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative, times a negative is a positive. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 5 is 40. For this one, you are multiplying a 1, 2, 3, so a trinomial times a 1, 2, 3 trinomial. I like to use the box so I know that I don't leave off any terms. You do not have to use the box, but ultimately it's the exact same thing. It just helps me keep straight how many terms I have. So I have 5r squared plus 3r minus 5 multiplied by r squared minus 3r plus 4. Then you multiply each box. 5, r squared and r squared is r to the 4th. 3, r and r squared is r to the 3rd, minus 5r squared. Negative 3 times 5 is a negative 15r to the 3rd. Negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9r squared. Negative 3 times negative 5 is a positive 15r. 4 times 5 is a 20r squared. 4 times 3 is 12r. 4 times negative 5 is a negative 20. Then all you have to do is combine your like terms. You can see here that these are both r cubes. All of these are r squareds. And these are r's. So your first term for number 11 is a 5r to the 4th. Negative 15 plus 3 is a minus 12r to the 3rd. 20 minus 9 is 11, minus 5 is 6r squared. 12 plus 15 is 27r minus 20. Okay, this next one is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 2. So a polynomial that is 4 by 2. So we have a 4x to the 3rd minus x squared plus 4x minus 1 times 2x plus 3. So we are doing each one. 2 times 4 is 8, x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd plus 8x squared minus 2x. Here, 3 times 4 is 12, x to the 3rd minus 3x squared. 3 times 4 is 12x, and then minus 3. Again, you have your like terms. So our first term is this 8x to the 4th. 12 minus 2 is a 10x to the 3rd. Negative 3 plus 8 is a positive 5x squared. 12 plus a negative 2 is a 10x minus 3. So number 13, right over here, this is a square, and in that square we have a negative 10x minus 7, negative 10x minus 7. So negative 10 times negative 10 is a positive 100x squared. Negative and a negative is a positive 70x. Negative and a negative is a positive 70x, and then a positive 49. Again, you can add your diagonals. So your first term is a 100x squared. 70 plus 70 is a positive 140x, and then positive 49. Okay, on number 14, again, is a square. On one side, we have 8x minus 5y, 8x minus 5y. 8 times 8 is 64x squared. 8 times negative 5 is a negative 40xy. Negative 40xy. Negative 5 and negative 5 is a positive 25y squared. Add that diagonal right there. So we get a positive 64x squared minus 80xy plus 25y squared. For this one over right here, you're taking this polynomial minus this polynomial, so you need to distribute this negative to every single term. So this becomes a plus 8, a minus 6x to the 8th, minus 2x to the 9th, plus 8x to the 7th. This first one just comes down and stays exactly the same. Okay, then you're going to combine your like terms. So I start with the largest first. So here's a minus 2x to the 9th and a positive 6. So that gives me a 4x to the 9th. Then 8s, we have a minus 6x to the 8th and a plus 3. So this becomes a minus 3x to the 8th. For the 7ths, we have an 8/7 and a 4x to the 7th, which gives you 12x to the 7th. Lastly, we have an 8 and a 2, which is plus 10. So for this next section, this 3x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus x stays the same. You're going to distribute this negative to the next trinomial. So minus 4x to the 3rd minus 9x squared minus 6x. And then this last one stays the same, positive 5x squared minus x. Then you're going to go through and combine your like terms. I like to start with the largest exponent first, which is this 4, so 3x to the 4th. For 3's, we have a minus 4x cubed. Okay, when we're looking at our squares, we have a minus 5x squared, a minus 9x squared, and a positive 5. So these two are zero pairs, so it is just the minus 9x squared. Then we're looking at our x's. So we have a positive x, a negative x, those are zero pairs, and then a minus 6x. So your final answer is right here. Looking at the back, identify the property illustrated. So right here, we've just changed the order, which is your commutative. Think of a commute, which is like your drive, okay? This one, 157, 157, the order hasn't changed, the grouping has changed, and that is your associative. Make sure that you go and think about who you associate with. Grouping. This one was order. Okay, make sure you practice your other or memorize your other properties, including your your identity property, your inverse property, your distributive property, all of those other properties that we took in our notes. Identify the set as infinite or finite. A natural number. Natural is like your counting numbers, so you start with 1, 2, 3, but it has to be larger than 5. So the first element in the set would be 6, 7, 8, 9, and it would keep going. So this is infinite. X is an even natural number. So again, our first even natural number is 2, and then 4, and then 6, and then 8, and then 10, and it would keep going. So this as well is infinite. So even though we don't have an ending, you can still have infinite, for example, if it's a fraction, because the denominator in the fraction can be as large and the number can be as small as possible. List all of the elements of set B. Now it's asking you to give the elements, not the set, so do not include the brackets. Okay? I also recommend that you go through and you simplify these first. 16 is simplified, the square root of 7 is simplified, negative 12 is simplified, 0. 0 over 2 is 0, and the square root of 16 is 4. So when we're talking whole numbers, this is natural numbers plus 0. So 16 is a natural number. 0 is a natural number. 0 over 2 is not a natural number, sorry, is a whole number. And then square root of 16 is a whole number. Do not include the braces, otherwise that is not the elements, those would be the set. All right, here, list all of the elements. Again, go ahead and simplify. That is simplified, 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 simplified. This is 0, this is 4, this is undefined. So rational is anything that can be written as a fraction. So 16 can be written over 1. Square root of 7 cannot be written as a fraction. Negative 23 could be written as a fraction. 0 could be written as a fraction. 0 over 5 could be written as a fraction. Square root of 16 could be written as a fraction. Negative 4 over 0 is undefined, so that is not rational. And then 0.01 is also rational, because it could be 1 over 100. Simplify the expression. Assume all variables represent non-zero real numbers. When you are multiplying, you multiply the coefficients. So negative 6 times negative 6 is a positive 36. And then you add the exponents. So for x, we have a 5 and a 3, which is 8. For the y's, there's invisible 1 and 4, which is 5. For this next one right here, this is the same thing when it's squared as multiplying it by itself. So 3 times 3 would give you 9. x4 and x4 would be x to the 8th. Y squared and y squared is y to the 4th over z to the 8th. This is also the same thing as distributing this 2, but remember this 3 has an exponent of 1. Tell whether the statement is true or false. So C, this symbol means subset of the empty set. Well, C has elements in it, so it can't be an element or a subset of the empty set, because this has nothing in it. So this one is false. All right, let A represent so forth, B, C, D, and the universal set. 0, 4, and 8 is a subset of C. So is 0 in C? No, it is not. So this is also false. 0 is not, 4 is, and 8 is. Use set notation and list all of the elements of the set. All right, so using set notation, right, means with our braces, and you can tell that this is decreasing by 6 each time. So we have 92, 86, 80, 74, 68, 62, 76, 70. Where am I going up again? Sorry, this should be 56 and 50, and then 44, and then 38, 32.
So each time we are decreasing by 6. I love how I do my 4s this way and this way, literally right next to each other. All right, this next one, the natural numbers. So natural means like our counting numbers, not including 0. And it has to be between 3 and 7. So that's 4, 5, and 6. Use these sets to find the following. Identify any disjoint sets. All right, so start with your parentheses first. This symbol right here means union, and it means or. So it could be in one or the other. This right here means intersection, and it means and. It has to be in both. I remember this by this looks like the in and then this looks like a U for union. So for this one, in or are. So if it's in, that's right here, and then are is right here. So when listing those out, that would be 8, that would be 9, that would be 10, that would be 11, that would be 13, 15, and 17. And Q, so which ones are in both? A is in both, 10 is in both, and that is it. So the answer is 8 and 10. Okay, 8 and 10. For number 30, okay, R union N. So it could be an R or N. Here's R, here's N. So we've got 6, we've got 7, we've got 8, we've got 9, got 11, 13, and 15. And then M prime means opposite of M. Everything that's not in M but is in the universal set. So 6 is, 7 is not, 8 is, 9 is not, 10 is, 11 is not, 12 is, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, lastly, we're looking to see which ones are in this set and this set. 7 is in both, 9 is in both, 11 is in both, 13 is in both, and 15 is in both. So your answer is 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. Disjoint sets would be when there's no terms in common and it's just the empty set.